yeah, that music. Welcome to this week's Monochrome Podcast. We are so excited that you guys are listening to this or watching. We've got a video special version as well. And I'm excited because we're doing this a little bit different. This is a special episode with a little bit of a different format. So if this is your first episode that you've listened to this, you've missed out on a whole awesome season of great interviews, content, news updates, etc. Make sure you go back, listen to those, subscribe. And if you listen to those and you loved them, give us that 5-star review. We would love for this to reach more people as we step into future seasons. But we're pausing and sort of interjecting in this moment to do a special episode just to kind of give a glimpse of what is to come for SALT 2024, which is going to be in Dallas, Texas. And we have a special guest, Keith, that has not been on the Monochrome Podcast.
That's exactly right.
So would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. This is Joe Angel Sanchez, one of the co-founders of SALT Conference. And it's funny that I haven't been on here.
I know.
Well, we can't invite you.
You have a very busy schedule.
He does.
That's true too.
He does have the busiest schedule of
He
the three
does.
of us.
Yeah, that's what happens when you have as many friends and as many connections as you do.
Well, this is fun. This is exciting. I couldn't wait to actually get here and do this.
Excited that you're here, Joe Angel.
Thank
Keith, welcome back.
Yes, it's good to be here. Just want to point out that I definitely feel like I shouldn't be at this table because I have got the two co-founders and here's this guy. So I'm going to do my best today to not be the squeaky wheel.
I've never heard that before. Squeaky wheel. Third wheel? Is that the same thing?
Squeaky wheel, I think it's a thing, right?
I don't know.
We'll go
It's
with
the
that.
wheel that you are like, hey, everything would be nice if that one wheel was doing what it was designed to do, which was to run smoothly.
Nice.
Oh boy. All right. Well, I'm hearing the fourth wheel in my head, which is our conference director keeping us in track.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I want to just kick off. We last year was your first year, Keith,
Yes.
on staff and first year experiencing SALT. Is there a story that maybe you remember as you think back to kind of the early first impressions? I mean, obviously we were working it, so it may not have been like an attendee first impression, but anything that comes to mind?
Well, I got to say, first off, just like going to conference, it was the scale of the creativity and the amount of work that went into that just kind of presented itself was incredible. And probably the coolest thing last year was the laser show. If you went to conference, you don't know what went into getting those lasers properly set. We all went in the room and we were told this is dangerous. You're not supposed to look, but you want to either get out of the room or you want to look away from the stage because we don't know where all these lasers are going to go when we turn them on.
This is before they calibrated.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're in the process of doing that calibration process. So, we all turn around and I see a laser shoot right by my head and it hits Joe Angel's beautifully sculpted
With your hand, you
scalp.
just created this like aura experience.
And it just refracted right off the top of his head. And I just thought, man, it was perfect aim. Whoever had their finger on the trigger, they did a good job.
I'm going to stop you there.
Okay.
Because what if it wasn't the lasers?
Oh boy.
Okay. Which way would be what?
My aura, as you just said.
Okay, your aura. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was emanating in that
I'm
dark
a light
room.
in a dark place.
It was honestly, it was a beautiful sight. So those lasers, that's what I remember.
First impression. It's really stuck with you. Huh?
Exactly. I'll never forget that moment. I even have it on video. So
It's
maybe
why I was
it
invited
ends up
today.
on socials. I don't know. So
This is amazing. Well,
amazing.
not only was Keith inspired by the laser that bounced off Joe Angel's head, but as you guys know, Paris Olympics
yes.
opening ceremonies, they were also inspired by SALT 2023. So that's exciting. So if you haven't bought your ticket to SALT 2024, obviously the Paris Olympics stole from us creatively. So that's pretty exciting. Who knows what's going to come out of 2024.
Exactly.
So let's give a little glimpse to that. Our
Let's do it.
heartbeat from day one, we've said this, has been to really just create a space for those who serve in the creative community of the local church.
Mm-hmm.
So they feel heard, they feel seen, and they leave rejuvenated to go back into ministry with new ideas and to kind of reach their local communities well. And so that's been our heartbeat from day one. And we talk about this in the context of main room hopefully will feed our souls, but workshops really feed our mind and our hands and our sort of skill sets. But as I think about our heart, as I think about SALT 2024, kind of a big picture, I can't help but think about specific people. We've had people come up to us after conference.
Yeah. And what's cool is that we talk a lot about people that come and they're coming as an attendee, or even ourselves that are working behind the scenes, putting on the conference, and we get to sit in some of the sessions and hear all that stuff. But there's also, it's not just the staff and it's not just the attendees that are putting this on. Thankfully, we have a lot of volunteers that come and they're a part of what we do. And they're also such a huge asset in putting on conference. And with that, we like to always tell those volunteers, like, be sure to get in the room, experience what's happening in there, because we don't want them to come volunteer and then just be stuck wherever they're serving throughout conference. We really want them to experience it as well. And, I remember just someone who was a volunteer, and without us even knowing during that time, during conference, was really seeking what was next for him. But he had just come just to serve and volunteer and be a part of SALT. And, felt during this time frame that he was going to be called into ministry. And, we learned later on that within the year is already in full-time ministry.
It's incredible.
And so it's not just the attendee, it's not just the staff, it's like the volunteers too. They are coming to help and not knowing what they're going to get out of it as well.
I've experienced a lot of tears myself at conference. You and I sort of have experienced that together over the years. It's a moving week, and it's a week that I know for us as a team, we come prayerfully expectant that the Lord's going to move, that the Holy Spirit's going to speak to us, and that God is going to create space to sort of really pour his creativity into his community. And we've experienced that. But it's crazy because I think about person after person who's come up to me after conference and shared what God has, or, sort of has revealed or sort of awakened in them. I think of Jeremy, this like big burly dude, big beard, coming up to me with tears just running down his face at the end of the last session a couple years ago. And he was just like, the Lord has confirmed my calling. Like, so I feel so much peace that where I am is where I'm supposed to be. And those are the stories that I hope for anybody listening to this. It's the stories that we're praying towards, that we come with kind of this expectant heart that the Lord is going to show up. I think our plan, we've said this ever since day one, is that we want to get out of the way so that the Lord can get in the way and be the way, so that we're not the ones trying to manufacture something, but that God's doing what he wants to do.
It's so good. Yeah. I love that, because I feel like you speaking on what Heartbeat has been for SALT. I heard this speaker say once, if you've never heard of him, Dr. Daryl Johnson is his name. Go listen to him. He's incredible. But he really talks about how sometimes we like to say in our prayers, like, we invite you, Holy Spirit, or we want to fill you in this place and whatnot. But one thing that he really, and my eyes have been open to this since like hearing him, is that worship and everything is already happening in heaven. It's us being invited into that, and we've already been invited into that. So it's like, it's us entering into what's already happening. Yeah. And so that's kind of matches up with a heartbeat. Like, let's take what our heartbeat is and the presence that's already happening, and he's invited us into that. So
that's cool.
I love that, because this year's theme is the way and the wonderment. And as you guys have maybe heard us talk about this in some of our social media posts or videos or whatnot, it's this idea that the way was sort of the early identifiers of the early church. It's this thing that's, like you said, it's been happening for decades and centuries. And the wonderment is this sort of secret sauce that we as creatives bring to our local community. And I think our hope is that we're going to intersect that. We're going to say, what would happen if our gifts could collide with what the church's mission has been since day one? And how could we impact our community? So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited because, as Keith, we've talked about, workshops this year are maybe the most exciting lineup of workshops we've seen.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about it. I have one of the best jobs here at SALT, because all year long, I get to meet all these just great people that are serving in the church, some of the most talented and gifted people. And so y'all send me out every year, go identify some speakers. We need to find some topics. And so the whole goal is, one, we want to find a speaker who is in the trenches, serving in the church, because we want people to know that when you go to one of a salt workshop, that you are learning from someone who understands the context by which they're teaching. Your specific context of in a local body in the church. We also always want to just find people that have that heart and that passion for using the experience and the knowledge that God's given them to share that with their peers, and that we're all wearing the same jersey, that it's Big C Church. Yeah. And so once we do that, a lot of times, we go through, we start figuring out what we want our topics to be. And I lean very heavily on the speakers that we find to help me know better. Like, what is it that you see that are those pain points that people are experiencing in ministry? I have other people that aren't speakers that are serving in the church that I'll call up, I'll email and just ask for their insight and their wisdom, so that when you come to SALT, we are not talking to the wall, and we're not talking about topics and pain points that you're not really experiencing. That's good. We want people that have their boots on the ground, their ear to the rail, they understand what's going on, and then we want to speak to that. Yeah. So this year we've got some really great speakers. I'll highlight just a couple of them.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But everybody loves Life Church. So last year we had two of the ladies from the Creative Media Group knocked it out of the park. This year, instead of the two ladies, we're going with two males. We've got JT Berg and we've got Warren Davis.
I love it.
Warren Davis specifically is teaching. He's a central team leader for the broadcast support there. And he's just an excellent mind when it comes to discussing and training people on how to lead teams. He's just a valued voice there at Life Church when it comes to that specific topic. And so he's going to talk a little bit about how to build great teams. I think something that we all want to get better at when we're in a position of leadership. One of my favorite people that I've met this year, Ron Starling.
Yes.
Yes.
He did the early Road to Salt webinar.
He did the Road to Salt, crushed it. He is the social media guru. He's worked with everybody.
He's just a fun guy to be around.
He is. He's so fun. If you're with Ron and you're not having a good time, there's something wrong with you. Nothing wrong with him. But he's worked with churches like Mav City. He's worked with VU Church, Elevation. He's worked with Transformation Church, helping each and every one of these churches better utilize their social media. And so he is.
Has he worked with any well-known churches?
I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was thinking, I was like, wow.
It's quite the lineup.
Yeah,
it's a resume. Also, we got another guy, Darius L. Carter. I always mention his middle initial because he likes to put it on everything.
Yeah.
But Darius is an amazing photographer. I mean, truly one of the most gifted photographers I've ever seen. His big calling card that he is just over the moon that he had the opportunity to do this, but he got to shoot the reference portrait for Oprah Winfrey for her portrait that went into the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery.
Small deal.
It is kind of a big deal. It's one of the most iconic photos ever. Probably one of Oprah's favorite photos she's ever been in. And he just got called up by the guy that was going to be do the painting, who's a really close friend of his, who is a painter. And he said, hey, I need somebody to take the shot, something that I can base my portrait off of. He got in the car, went down to her property. I forget what does she call that property?
I have no idea.
We're going to cut that part out. We're going to cut that on that.
The best part is just going to not get cut out. And that's going to be the best little
Okay, never mind.
segment.
We'll just leave it in. But point being is he got to go and take that shot. And he's got so much to share.
Lights. He had like a little bit of time. He told that story.
Exactly.
He's also
That's
pretty
incredible.
deeply involved with one church in LA, which is part of the Potter's House. That's Sarah Jakes Roberts' church, Pastor Torrin, PT and all that. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, he leads their videography team, their photographers each and every Sunday.
Volunteer photography team.
Yep.
And he said something, I'll just jump in real quick, that really spoke to me, that the photography team, if you have something like that, is a great way for every guest to feel seen and known. Because he says, as one of the lead photographers here, I know when a new person comes in because I know who I've taken a photo of and who I haven't. And what a great little submission.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Connect with everybody.
Yeah.
All right, who else?
Got a couple more. Ramon Quintero. Okay. This guy is a Canva verified expert. Okay. If you want to know how to use Canva a little bit better, Canva is like one of one of those programs or whatever you want to call it, website. If you use it, you usually use a bunch of templates. You're maybe not really sure what looks good or whatever. This guy can tell you how to use Canva and make it look like you use Photoshop, essentially. And so he's going to be there. We got Liz from Willow Creek. Now, everybody kind of knows kind of Willow Creek's history, and they've navigated some tough waters. Well, Liz actually helped them navigate by leading the communications team, how to communicate internally and externally through all the changes to the point now that Willow Creek is really just growing and in some really good years at their church. She tells me things are just going fantastic there right now. And then we've got one more speaker I want to mention that somebody on this panel here knows pretty well, and that is Lauren Sloat, AKA the artist known as, I don't know why I said AKA and then spelt it out too, but the artist known as Flurry. So Jay Angel, tell us a little bit about Flurry.
Yeah, no, Lauren Sloat, who we have this year, she's actually going to come in and help with workshops, but then also going to be one of our worship leaders this year. And it's really exciting. My connection to her is that I do manage her career, but as he said, getting to know her really well in the last year and a half, I really have seen that she really is Flurry as an artist and has been very successful through songwriting. And for a lot of her songs are on TV shows and MTV and movie trailers and just in all kinds of stuff. But yet the very core of her heart is worship. And so though there's so much success there in the mainstream world, her heart for worship outshines all of that. And just so very humble and dear and loving. And so, right now she likes to songwrite with a lot of Christian artists and worship leaders. She also is very involved with church at the Belonging Co. And she's a worship leader there and has written for a lot of their albums as well. But because that's her first love is worship. Yeah. And obviously because it points people to the Savior. So really excited to have her be a part of this. It's like bringing in family to family.
I love that.
So
man, and what's cool is that this is the first time we've actually shared that news that she's coming.
Yes.
So it's kind of fun for the Monochrome
sneak
audience
peek
to get the
sneak
first
preview.
glimpse. Real quick, just rattle off a couple of the other churches. I mean, there's 42 workshops, so we can't go through all of them. You've highlighted maybe 5 or 6 here. Rattle off real quickly some of the local churches that are also coming to teach.
Yeah.
We've got Watermark.
We've got Watermark, The Village, Prestonwood. We've got
Cottonwood Creek,
Gateway. We've got just a bunch.
So being in Dallas has actually also given us a lot of excitement of new voices, new stuff to teach from.
And that's really the thing. This year, moving to Dallas, what we've done is we've discovered a lot of new voices that we can introduce to our community. It's allowed us to build a lot of new relationships, and it's been a really fun year to prepare conference.
Yeah. So. One thing new we're doing, and hopefully you can do this pretty briefly here because we've spent a lot of time on workshops, but talk about foundations. This is a whole new track that we've rolled out. We break everything down into tracks, 42 total classes over 7 different tracks. Give just the sort of snapshot of the heartbeat behind the foundations track and maybe what we can come to expect.
Exactly. Well, I'm excited about the foundations track because what it is it's SALT just recognizing that, not everybody that comes to conference is ready to just dive in the deep waters of any given topic. That sometimes you're bringing green volunteers, people that have a heart and a passion to serve in the church, but they don't yet have the experience or the knowledge. And so Foundations is going to be this opportunity to address on a very basics, foundational level, things like audio, video, lighting. We're going to discuss graphic design and photography and different things that really is going to be an awesome opportunity for those people that you're bringing on your team that are just full of passion, and you just want to point them in a given direction that they of an area that they can utilize that passion and talent that God's given them through the Foundations track. So it's going to be great. I'm glad we're offering it because, when you have a conference like ours, 750 people coming, people are all over the map when it comes to their experience level and their knowledge.
Yeah. And I remember us talking right after the site visit when we realized there was extra space to do this. that we as a conference want to challenge the greater church to greatness.
Yeah.
And oftentimes our workshops sort of lean towards that heartbeat. But I remember us saying as a team, but greatness can't happen if we don't have a good foundation. And so that's such an important track. So excited we get to bring it.
I think that's incredible because, with all the talent and amazing workshop speakers that you've mentioned that we are bringing in, it can sometimes be overwhelming to come in and listen to people who are so outstanding at what they do and get lost in that as someone who is new or the one-man team or anything like that. Right. So this is going to hit it home for
and we're
those
not
people.
Ready to give all the details, but we're going to have a way that if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to go to all 42 of these, you will have an opportunity to get into that. So we'll talk more a little bit about that later. Let's pivot a little bit. Speaking of Lauren and her heart for worship.
Yes.
Why don't we talk a little bit about Main Room? What can we sort of expect from a worship standpoint? You would talk a little bit about the heartbeat of kind of why we've leaned into the path we've leaned into over the last couple of years.
Well, I think that we've realized, as we've been doing this for now going to the 11th year that, us ourselves, that when we were planning, it was like, oh, we have to do it this way or that, because there's no true formula in trying to build a conference, and I think people that do conferences are probably amen to that.
Yeah.
And so, we always thought we had to have the biggest name and, whatever. But I think what we've come to realize that Jesus is Jesus and the Spirit is going to move within the room regardless of who's leading.
Yeah.
And so in that, we really start to change direction. And we're like, let's just find people who have the same heartbeat for just coming in and leading.
Yeah.
And, we've found that.
It's not about a show for them. It's how do we serve this community where they are.
Totally. Yeah. And we found those people that really have come alongside us, that it's why we've continued to use the same worship leaders. And there's been some changes here and there, but because they've joined in and have caught vision and really come in and just pour into the community.
Yeah.
And so, we are excited to have some of those back this year and really dive into those songs that, the churches are singing and that people are singing in their congregation and really dive
we'll have
deep.
Some new stuff too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You'll be inspired with new music.
Yes. So come prepared. Don't be ashamed of the new music. Embrace it.
We've talked a lot on social media of some of our main stage speakers, but for those who haven't really dove into a ton, I'll sort of highlight a couple. We've got Brad Montague coming back, which I'll talk about here in just a second. We've got Rick Reckadell. He is from DreamWorks, or formerly at DreamWorks, now pouring his life into the church and parachurch organizations. Super excited to have Samer Masad come back, and the opportunity, as you guys know, he has spoken numerous times at SALT over the years, and every time he speaks, I don't know why, he just brings this incredible pastoral heart and really encourages us to sort of go deep in our faith, and I'm excited to have him step into this theme a little bit more. I'm also excited Natalie Runyon is a new voice to the SALT community this year. I remember when we saw her book, Raised to Stay, and just this whole idea of being grown up in the church, there's kind of this sexiness factor of burnout and oh, well, I was a pastor's kid, so I need to get out of the church. Yeah. And she flipped the whole thing on its head. And I just loved her heartbeat. We had such an engaging conversation with her. Joseph Sojourner is coming back to host. I'm excited about Darian Sanders.
I'm really excited about Darian Sanders.
Sorry, lying.
Took it right out of my.
But he is Simba, if I'm not mistaken, on the Lion King Broadway tour. And so what an exciting thing. He's got something really creative up his sleeve that he's working with us on. We don't really give much detail on openers or any sort of creative moment we do, but that's the only creative thing that I just let slip. So I'm just going to shut my mouth. And we're going to all act like I didn't say that on the podcast. And if you're listening, you just got a little inside scoop, which makes that even more fun. So
awesome.
He's planning something.
This is a way to know who listened.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to be like, I know. Yeah. That's a fun, in fact, if you are listening to this, why don't you just come up to conference and just
find one of us
singing,
and just start singing that. We're going to know you listened.
Yeah. But what's really cool is Brad Montague closed out last year's conference. And we've all talked about this off air, but it was such an inspiring talk. I know JT on our team called it the essence of creativity. That was how incredible that keynote was. And so as we started sort of dreaming this year, we said, hey, what if Brad could come back? He's the originator of that YouTube series, Kid President. He's a best-selling kids author. But he's a strong Christian. He's just a guy who embodies creativity and the sort of heart of an artist. And we said, what if you did not just one talk, but two? So he's coming. He's going to have two talks.
Exciting.
It's going to be incredible. And we got a couple of other creative things up our sleeve that we don't want to give everything away, but this is like a good little preview into this year.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. I'm ready for it. Has felt, I think we've said this just in passing, that it's felt like year one a little bit just for the unknown because we're changing cities. So we're in it just with like everybody else of going into a new place. So come hold our hand and join us this year.
I'm just excited about Dallas. Yeah.
Dallas, we're coming for you.
I mean, for 11 years now, essentially, we've had attendees tell us, man, I wish I could come all the way out to Nashville. I wish, the flight is too much, or the airfare, or the hotel is going to be too much. And so I'm excited. Our hotels are cheaper than they have ever been.
That's good.
The driving radius for anybody within 6 hours is the greatest we've ever had in the history of the conference. Mm-hmm. And so I'm excited and I'm expectant. And I know we've talked about that. So
yeah. And I think we can all agree that we're all excited about the food.
Absolutely.
Yes. Texas barbecue, Tex-Mex. I'm going to gain like 20 pounds at conference this year. So that's why I'm losing all the weight right now.
I remember when we went to site visit, you said, all right, we're going to barbecue. And you were like, here's like the 40 options. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? We're going to need to narrow this thing down. Pretty good. We're not far from, what were those two restaurants right next to the venue that we went to? Mexican Sugar, I was just told off camera, which is awesome. And the
other one was right next
Whiskey Cake.
Yeah.
Whiskey Cake.
That's right. My gosh.
They were so
They
good.
have like a sticky toffee pudding.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Golly. All right. So if you aren't coming to Dallas October 16th through the 18th, 2024 for a conference called SALT, which you can get all the details at salt2024.com, you should at least come those days and go eat with us, because it sounds like we're going to be at a lot of restaurants.
Exactly.
Yes.
I love it.
If you need a friend, I will go out to eat with you.
All right. Well, thanks for being us with this special episode of the Monochrome Podcast. And we hope to see you guys in just a few short weeks or days or hours, depending on when you're listening to this, at SALT 2024.